Can you?
Perfect.
You take us out there, wifey.
Alright. Hello everyone, welcome back to New Hill Country, right?
New Hill Country, yeah.
Right, that's the name of our podcast. Today we have a special guest whose name that slipped my mind.
Stephen Brockman.
Stephen Brockman, yes. Before we begin, we're going to introduce our sponsors. The first sponsor is SPG Texas, run by Coach Michael and Coach Kaylee. We have a great kids program and adult program for martial arts, specifically jiu-jitsu. It's a really cool thing to learn, and we have a great facility and great people. So if you're interested, please come check it out.
Yeah, if you're in the new Braunfels area, just come check us out. We're in the same lot as Big Lots and Arbor Freight, Dirt Cheap.
And Whataburger.
Easy to find. So.
And the second sponsor is Element-T, or Element.
Element, yeah.
How you pronounce it? It's the electrolyte and salt mix that you just mix with water, especially in summertime if you're really thirsty. Just keeps you hydrated and tastes really good. Developed by Raw Wolf, and a lot of our members are, including ourselves. So.
Yeah, sure. It's really good. There's a lot of different electrolyte mixes, but I found that one really gets the job done.
Right.
I was training in Costa Rica in like 100 degrees plus weather, wearing the jiu-jitsu gi, which is basically like thick pajamas, rolling with guys in an unair conditioned barn, essentially like a metal barn. And that's where I first got to experience that electrolyte mix, because Rob Wolf was there and he gave us all boxes for free. They had literally just launched the product. And we were just sweating so bad down there. And I remember just drinking with that, like putting it in like a 2 liter, and like I couldn't finish almost half of the 2 liter at that point. Like it was just, I was hitting that satiation level like so soon, versus like the day before where I'm drinking like 4 liters of water or something. It's like, I only drank like a liter of water a day. Like, is this okay? Kind of like, and it just makes a big difference.
So it should stand up to the Texas Hill Country heat.
It does. It really does, I think.
Definitely, yeah. All right.
So we'll let Stephen here introduce himself. We usually kind of start the show off just by talking about, who you are, and really just starting off with your relationship to this area in Braunfels. Like, how did you get here? What do you like about it here? Stuff like that. So.
Well, first off, thanks for having me. I feel pretty lucky that we just sat down at the table together.
Right.
Having the whole chamber new member orientation, that we finally were able to get back in person.
Right.
It's been a tough year, and we've been working hard over there at the chamber, and we're so excited that those things are coming back in person. It just it's not like us, and it's been weird, it's been off, but it feels really good to see some things that we're planning and have people back together. So, but yeah, I'm the Vice President of Small Business Programs and Leadership Programs over at the Chamber. And so really what that means is I'm in charge of all the fun programming, is how I like to say it. I've got one half of my job. I have the Leadership New Braunfels and Youth Leadership Programs. And it's a selective program that we take a class each year, and we do a deep dive into the city and county and look at how government works and how the healthcare system and school system and tourism and everything else. And the goal there is to build high school students and community leaders into a very broad spectrum. People who have proven themselves maybe like in their industry and show that they want to lend their leadership skills on a broad range in the community. It's been, I'm lucky enough to do it. It's been going on for 30 years. My dad was actually part of the original steering committee back in the early 90s to do it. And so it's pretty neat to help carry on that legacy. The second part of my job is doing programs that help promote and sing the praises of people just like y'all, small businesses that make this town so awesome. And I know y'all are new here, but some of the things we were talking about beforehand, there's certain places around the world and around the U.S. that feel more like home than others. And when you look through that thread, that why someplace makes you feel more like home, I think a lot of it has to do with the business environment, specifically around like how well can a small business thrive. Because
Sure.
yeah, I don't know about you, but I love walking down the street and I can run into a business owner that's actually, you know, my neighbor, not just a big corporate giant. Not to say anything bad about that, because they provide great jobs and we do try to attract those businesses to town, but I got a special place in my heart because, you know, now I walk down the street, I see y'all sitting, you know, at some great restaurant we got here or anything else. I know you. You're a face. You're the SBG business owners, and then I get to tell my kids, hey, those are the folks over there. They got the cool gorilla, whatever else. And so, yeah, I got a pretty cool job. I think it's a lot of fun. It's been an interesting year, to say the least, but it's been a lot of how do we keep people running? You know, how do we sing y'all's praises so that we just keep it moving day after day? And I think we're seeing some fruits of the labor coming from it. So excited about it.
How long have you been in that position?
I took over this role in October of 2019.
Okay.
So I was just starting to get my feet wet
That's
when
it.
everything
Yeah.
I think, you know, there seems to be a lot of that around this town right
Right.
now. Either people who had, you know, made new transitions or started up businesses or things like that. I think with the last decade of a lot of prosperity in this town has built people's confidence up that they were ready to take a risk or take a chance or move on to a new opportunity. And I think there was a lot of that going on in town, which might be a good thing because we were all so new at something together.
Sure.
We just said, oh, let's make it work.
And even if you've been here for a long time, New Braunfels growing so much that people see the difference, and I think you just that adjusting to new environment is part of what we do here, just inevitably, because it's just things are growing and changing so much.
That's an understatement.
Right,
I would say
right.
it's definitely exciting to be a part of. You know, when you see these lists of number 2 fastest growing city in the state or in the country, or and all of those things. But it's funny while we're going through that, because we, you know, obviously the chamber, you hear the good, the bad, the ugly. Sometimes you hear more of the bad, especially when it has to do with growth. But if we weren't growing, I mean, that's bad. You live in a place that's not growing, and there's only 2 options: you're growing or you're dying.
Right.
And I think back to when my parents moved me here back in '86. Gosh, the census sign, I don't know exactly what it said, but I know in high school when I was there in the 90s, it wasn't even 30,000 yet.
Wow.
So in the 80s, we were probably seeing a sign that was around 15, 16,000. And I remember distinctly back then that all this growth was going to be the downfall of this community, that it was just turning this quaint little town. I think it's quite the opposite now.
I think we had Mark Hampton on here. He was our agent and everything. And what did Mark say? Well, I had interviewed him on that one. We did that way during the lockdown over Skype, and I want to say he said at some point, like, I felt like he said something 15 to 20,000 at some point, because he's been here like he moved here when he was quite young, like elementary school or something, and it was kind of like trying to, like, that's such a huge scale of growth.
I remember he was giving us a tour, like to just like introduce the area a little bit, which I enjoyed so much.
He gave a great tour.
And basically he was saying like, this wasn't here, this wasn't here. Like it was like pointing at everything that's so new, and it's almost everything. So
this shopping center that y'all are in, it was the cream of the crop when I was growing up.
Really?
It was the only department. It was the only one in town. You had the Bell's department store, which other than Kmart, those were the only shopping, or else you're going into San Antonio or Austin.
Mm.
And then there was a Handy Andy down here. There was the grocery store, and there was not there. The China Kitchen was there, but then around the corner there was a place called Polar Bear Ice Cream. That was the ice cream parlor back then.
It's not here anymore.
No,
It's
no.
gone. That sounds interesting.
It was
the
pretty
Jiffy
fun.
Lube over there. Yeah. So yeah.
But yeah, this and this. So my point there is that growth isn't anything new to New Braunfels. There's always been something special. Even we're kind of wrapped up the official year, if you do the math, of the 175th in 2020, which obviously was postponed until this year, and the chamber has a big piece in that, and we're going to push it into the fall of this year so that we can make sure that everything's ready. But we're going to have those festivities. I think it was back in like 1895, something like that. New Braunfels was the fastest growing city in the state of Texas.
Oh wow!
Oh
wow!
So again, going back
huh?
to this is no new
Right.
phenomenon here.
Right.
There's always been something amazing, but there's also been, it's never engulfed the culture and the people that are here. It's an ever changing culture. We're proud of our history, but I think it's also, we're happy to have people just like yourselves come in, jump into the town, love the town just as much as us, and then I say us, just as much as everybody that's already here. And the best part, I'm an Aggie, so it was always like, I was class of 2003 at A&M. Well, when was Old Army? It was your class and anybody who graduated before you. Anybody who comes after you, you're New Army. You don't know how to do it. So as soon as somebody else moves into town after y'all moved into town, hey, you're old timers here.
I already kind of. It's weird that you put it though, because I felt so fresh a year ago, and then because we've only been here now a year and some change, and we actually are getting, just nature of our business, like we get people coming in, like there's some people moving from Montana here, they're looking for SVG. There's people from a fair amount of people that I talk to, when they call in for interest in the gym, I see that California zip code or whatever. So a lot of Californians and stuff like that. And it's weird. I do feel like they're behind me and getting to know the Texan thing already. But I don't know. We were joking about this, I think a couple podcasts ago, but just, I'm from Iowa, she's from Korea. It feels like only the people from California get a certain amount of flack, like I found it really weird, because like I was talking with a bunch of like Texans who've been here, their whole life or whatever, and they were kind of griping about the Californians a little bit, which for me I've never seen anything to merit that, honestly, but like they're kind of like going on. I just really kind of was thinking like, it's so weird that you don't direct any of this at anybody but there, it's like I'm from Iowa. I mean, strictly speaking, I'm kind of from Korea at this point, so it's like
well, if they drive bad, most people say, oh, they must be from Houston also.
Sure. I feel like there's always a location, wherever you are in the world, there's always some local, regional kind of, like, I'm from Iowa, so we're right on the border with Wisconsin. It's always people from Wisconsin. Like my dad sees someone drives bad. He's probably a cheddar.
Gotta be, right?
Gotta be a cheddar. I'm like, I don't know, Dad. There's plenty of bad drivers.
Dad, that was Grandma who just drove by.
Right. He's like, I guess so. He got like a speeding ticket in Wisconsin once and never let it go.
Yeah, but that's how it's always been around here, is that people who come here and jump in and show dedication to the community, and that they want to be a part, that they love it here, there's a reason why all of us come here. It doesn't take you long to be involved, and I've always said, at the chamber, especially because there's so many volunteer opportunities, but go even broader than that. This is one of those kind of towns that as soon as when you start to raise your hand to volunteer and it gets up around your shoulder, everybody in town sees it, and you better watch out, because you're going to be getting asked to help out with whatever. So I think we do a good job of recognizing people who want to be here, want to live and
Sure.
make this place a better place, a great place. So you know Mark Hampton also then, huh?
Sure. Yeah.
He's a good one. Y'all picked a great one out of him. He's an old timer around here.
It's really sweet. Yeah, it's very helpful, especially we're so new, didn't know anything about it, and then it's our first business venture. So commercial real estate, everything was so new. Even like the getting permit, all this kind of system-wise, we're so new here that just like his help was so instrumental.
It was such an intense, compact period.
Right.
When I
it
look
was
back
hard.
on it, I'm like, almost like a little PTSD shot. I'm like, oh yeah, right. I like remember how just it was a challenging time, and Mark really helped us through that period. Like he was really helpful.
We really found a good place. We're really happy with
Got
this
us a
area,
really good deal.
this building. And
This place wasn't. I was trying to do it on my own, like looking online, and this place didn't even end up on the radar. I didn't even notice it. I don't know if it was even. I think it was listed in some different way or something. He was able to find it and was like, "This might be good for you," and it ended up being perfect because this was a former dance studio. Had been multiple dance studios, and I actually met some of the former owners that are still here that somewhere else. They bought. We still had ballet bars, and I sold ballet bars off to them and stuff like that, and they were happy to get them. Just the fact that it used to be a dance studio meant, in terms of build out, it was kind of exactly what we needed already. So we didn't have to fork over a ton of money to create it the way we needed it. It was just a little touch up, and that was big. That was helpful.
Well, it's a great spot. I mean, walking in, the first thing I noticed was just how clean and fresh y'all keep everything. It's very inviting, bright. It's the kind of place you want to come. I mean, if you're gonna be rolling around on the floor.
It's all her. It's all
trying
her.
to make it as clean as possible.
It's a great
We have
spot.
so many kids here, our kids included. So just that was always our first priority, and that's been really serving us well, especially in this time.
I tell you what, you must have a magic wand if you got a bunch of kids. My wife and I always say trying to clean up with kids in the house is like brushing your teeth with Oreos.
Yeah, I mean it's just we pretty much just built it into the program.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're teaching them. Like jiu-jitsu is great. I want them to have self-defense skills, but like total character development is the goal, really. Like total human development. So it's like they clean up at the end of class. Like they do most of the stuff. Like
just one thing, like we have a life skills sheet, and one of the sheet like items in the sheet is like pack your gym bag, water bottle, jiu-jitsu belt, and then you see at the end of class all the parents like, all right, pack your bag. So parents are not packing the bag for them. They just fold the gi and all. So it's a really good kind of environment to learn good behavior and stuff, and we're trying to encourage that.
And we stick to it too. I have kids every day. It's like, I don't have a water bottle. Can I have some water? I'm like, whose responsibility is it to have a water bottle? And it's like,
and they learn pretty quickly.
Oh, my dad forgot. It's like, it's not your dad's responsibility. Remember your water bottle. It's like it's your responsibility to remind your dad. If he's got to get it from somewhere, it's your responsibility to remind it. And then it does. And then it's like magic. Next class, they got the water bottle, right? Like so.
Pretty amazing what they catch on to
yeah.
and stick, right? I do it with baseball season starting up here shortly. I remember I just chose, all right, we're Little League. We got years and years ahead of us to be able to focus on all the little techniques. I'm not going to coach to trying to win a Little League game. I'm going to coach to developing skills, developing some kids. I mean, it's T-ball.
Right.
Let's go out and have fun. And I had my kids, and they were expected to stay in positions, because if you're going to play baseball later on, you have to be in your positions. And I had a friend of mine, I won't divulge his name, but after one of the games comes up to me and goes, how in the world did you get your kids to actually stay in their position? Ours just run around like tyrants. I was like, oh no, we practice it.
Right,
It just is.
Yeah. Kids do learn pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Than you think, How many kids do you have? I assume boys?
I've got two.
2 boys?
2 boys.
Nice. How old are they?
I've got a kindergartner and a 2nd grader.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Good age.
Yeah.
The same age, actually.
It is
As ours,
yeah, it's loud. It's a bunch of roughhousing, and it's fun. That's
You got the 2 boys. We have the older. We have a daughter,
and
the eldest, and the son. Yeah, so.
Same age, second grade and kindergarten.
They argue, but they don't rumble so
Right,
much.
it's a very different dynamics, and I
Yeah.
see a lot of that dynamic in class
Right,
with
right.
two boys, you know,
Yeah,
training together.
two brothers.
So quite
Yeah.
a scene.
Or just kind of work it out by just, well, you got a trampoline in the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
They'll go out there and all of a sudden they're just wrestling and
Of course,
doing that. And
Right.
it took my wife a little bit of time because she's from it's just her and her sister.
Mm.
So the exact opposite. It took her a little bit of time to understand that
Sure.
it's just boys. I mean,
Right, right.
Sure.
they're just loud and
Mhm.
everything's gonna be louder and tougher and
Right, the more physical
It just
than,
is.
you know, verbal, like girls
that's
do.
how my brother and I were.
Right.
Yeah. That's an interesting insight because my mom, now that I think about it, she had two sisters and one brother. I remember growing up, I had an older brother and we just fought all the time. We would have loved this if we had had access to this. We would never stop doing it, like jiu-jitsu. But like, we were just always fighting. And I remember my mom just crying, like, would you just please not fight like one day? Like, 'cause I think for her, it probably did seem completely like
Yeah.
dysfunctional.
What's wrong with
Yeah,
you
yeah,
guys?
like what's wrong? Because yeah, she had the sisters, and then her youngest brother, he was just a baby, so he probably, you know, there wasn't a lot of rumbling and tussling and all of that. So I'm sure it looked completely foreign and weird
And
to
just
her.
even when the boys are playing like a board game, it somehow ends up a tougher version.
Yeah, right.
It's intense.
Yeah,
and-
no, That's funny. Well, what are I'm sorry, we should get back to some of the stuff
Yeah.
you're doing with the chamber. Like, what are some of the initiatives that you have? Like, you were talking about, you're excited about the stuff you're going to do next year. I know you have probably some stuff you want to keep in your back pocket, but what can you share with us about what's going on next year?
Well, the biggest thing, we're right at the kickoff, right? We've got in 2 weeks we've got our annual banquet,
Right.
and that's the ceremonial passing from one year to the next, right?
Mhm.
We change out our chair of the board, all of our executive committee kind of move up to their new responsibilities, and we've got the whole slate kind of ready to roll out. And so we've got Wes Studdard, who, you know, is Gerald's neighbor here with Blue Bonnet.
Oh, okay.
He's the GM here at the Blue Bonnet. We could not have been more blessed to have as steady and competent leadership through 2020 as we did with his guidance as the chair of the board. I mean, Michael Meek, our president and CEO, he'll be retiring here this year, and he obviously brought the 31 years of leadership to the chamber, but to have Wes there as well as chair of the board to just help push us where we needed to, but also keep that steady guidance as everything was up in the air. So we'll be sending him off, welcoming in Nathan Manlove from the MO group. He's a local marketer here in town, has a very successful practice, and excited about what he brings to the table. He's charged us with focusing on helping the rebound and recovery efforts, and that's really we started baking that into our plan about September of last year. We knew we weren't, and we still aren't completely out of the clear yet.
Sure.
But we needed to start thinking, how do we think that 4 or 5 months ahead so that we can start bringing people back into it, and so that when the time is right, we have our mixers and we have all of those in-person things. Within my department, what that's looking like is we're going to be coming back to the business trade show this year. That'll be in September.
Okay.
Y'all not being here, except for this past year, what we did this past year was we had to adjust it, and instead of trying to do something virtual or something that didn't really resonate, we went a little old school, and we sold half-page advertisements for businesses and then distributed it, partnered with the Herald Zeitung, distributed it to the readership, so that we were still getting people out there. So it was instead of having a booth, you had an article in the magazine, and got some good response out of that. But we will be going back to a live event down at the Civic Center. It's always a well-attended event. It's a great place to show off who you are and what you're about. So we're excited for that coming back. I am in full swing with my leadership and youth leadership programs. We've been doing those since September.
Okay.
And gotta say, it's been fantastic. We haven't had to cancel any events. It's been a little bit different than years past. Some places, we've had to adjust a little bit of things here and there. But really excited that we've been able to hold those to the true spirit of it. We are kicking off, be on the lookout if you're on the Chamber's mailing list, but we've got a full year plan of business seminars.
Okay.
And it's a series of 6 events. Our first one is going to be February 11th.
Okay.
And it's focused on e-commerce. And so we're bringing in 4 business owners in town, one from a B2B, one retail, one from a barbershop that utilizes their website to do bookings and also kind of selling their products and all that stuff. And we have John Hill he's the e-commerce manager at GVEC. He's going to help moderate it and share some things. So that's going to kick off those. We're looking at how do we do more and more larger in-person events. We've got our committees that have been going over to Zoom, but those are through partnerships around town that have larger venues that we can get into and feel spaced out, kind of like where we met. We're just working through those partnerships to get those. So I think what we're seeing as we're talking through that rebound and recovery phase, I think what we're seeing right now is we're trying to model how you can reopen, especially if you're a business that thrives on that networking. How do you move from a lockdown phase to now we're in this, we kind of know what we're doing, we're wearing the mask, we're socially distanced, but we also need to recognize that there's a certain relationship to all business that we need to work through. And so we're in that phase of how do we walk those steps along there and get back to what we've always taken pride in, and that's creating that environment to do business. Some of the behind the scenes things that people may or may not have seen, I can't tell you how many times we've been on the phone with local and state and national leaders. In fact, I had an email conversation going on with Senator Cornyn's regional regional staff member out of San Antonio. And we were talking about the new PPP package and getting understanding of what's involved with it, advocating for, hey, can we see these things, and then clarity out of it after it got passed. There's not a day that goes by that I don't walk by Michael Meek's office and he's talking to somebody, whether it be local and county and city officials. Like this morning, he had a Zoom meeting that it was the community stakeholders group, something that started up around February of last year. That Andrew Kim, the superintendent at Comal ISD, got together with other local leaders because he and Randy Muchigamba were looking forward and saying, hey, this thing could come, and if it happens, here's what we've planned as the schools. We need support from the community. We need to get the right people. And because of that, you had both school districts with their key leaders involved. You had the city with, at that time, Mayor Castile involved. You had both hospital CEOs. You had the county judge. You had the county health department. You had Michael Meek from, and also the police chief and the fire chief that came together on a daily call there for about 4 months at the start of this. talking about, hey, where's resources? What do we need help with? Michael talking about, hey, look, if we do what you're talking about, it's going to have this effect on businesses. And so did every decision that was made, was it perfect and was it ideal for every person? No, but that's the kind of stuff that a lot of times doesn't get seen.
Sure.
But we're working real hard on. We take a lot of pride doing it in the background, because without that, I've talked to friends in other communities that just felt like they've been flailing the entire time.
Sure.
And I feel very fortunate to live in a community where the major stakeholders understand that partnership that needs to go on, and are willing to set down egos sometimes also. Fight for what they need, you know. I mean, don't get me wrong, Mike went to bat over and over and over, and there were a lot of times you know, with candid closed door conversations afterwards, it was like, why couldn't we get that? But we also understand that there's decisions aren't made in a vacuum.
Sure.
And I think at the end of the day, the most important part is that we are working as a team around this place. And so
that's great.
I would see, I foresee the year of bonds that were created there are gonna really, really play out over the next several years. Just as we continue to grow as a city and keep those tight bonds there. So exciting times coming.
It's really good to hear that. I mean, we're new here, but so far I really don't have any complaint about this kind of whole area. I think the general vibe is, like you said, people always support, you know, small businesses. They always root for them, even though you're not directly involved, and always hear that kind of friendliness, and always like, that's awesome, you guys are opening this, and I really want you want to see succeed and all, and that's big, you know, compared to, I don't know, big cities where nobody cares, or, you know, you don't get that kind of like support, you know, locally, and I think that's been really working well for us, just emotionally and just morale wise and all.
There's so many cool stories. So one of the things we just, every business you go into, if you take the minute to actually, if you get a chance to talk to people like y'all, or run into the owners or whoever, when you start realizing what people have given up, because everybody here, I mean, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're probably successful at something. Not many lazy people are entrepreneurs.
Sure.
I mean, that's those two words don't really go together.
Fair statement there.
And I mean, I could probably go and introduce you in a very short walk downtown to a lady who's been on Food Network and won a Food Network and cooking show. Go right next door and introduce you to you know, a local musician's wife. They're a pretty famous couple, and probably better than the average chance you'd run into her husband. Not while he's singing on stage, but around town. You can meet a lady who has had decades in the kind of grassroots music scene, kind of that red dirt scene, and decided to strike out on her own and open up a retail shop. Another one who was a very successful retail manager at a large national retail chain. She was a national account manager for them, and she's right downtown. I mean, you just look at that. That's all on one block.
I want to take that downtown tour with you now.
Right.
And
so
so
you meet all of them.
Yeah.
We haven't been to downtown that much. We've been here a year, and it's just.
I mean, there's those stores, and that's just one little block. You can go all over town, and there's these really cool stories. And I mean, heck, I got to know one now. I had no idea Rob lived here in town. I'm like, what? I mean, that's a huge name.
Right.
I mean, he's a very
name,
very
yes.
successful gentleman.
Right.
Heck, we have an astronaut that lives in town with General Duke. Yeah, Charlie Duke. He walked on the moon.
Oh wow!
Oh, I think I saw him
So-
in the magazine.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what we have to offer in this sleepy little town, but it's not so sleepy. But going back, the reason I say all that is, getting to know those personalities. That's what's so much fun.
That's true.
It makes it easy to cheer y'all on and
Right.
promote what y'all are doing.
Yeah, it's been really good.
Is there anything else kind of going on with you that you just we let this platform just let people promote whatever
That's
they want to promote basically. So if there's something, and it could really be anything like that you want to promote, like
Yeah, I guess if I'm gonna give just a shameless plug, one,
Go
just if anybody out there is on the fence of wondering what the chamber does or anything else like that, love to show you about it. We're really proud of what we do. So thankful for y'all, for our members, because y'all are the ones that keep the lights on for us and give us the opportunity to advocate. But even more so than that, just support local. I mean, that has been the drum I have been pounding since last March is whatever you can do, keep those dollars local. It's staggering the amount of or the distance a dollar goes. For every dollar that you spend with a local place, 68 cents stay within the community. You do it at a national chain, it's probably around 35 cents. So it's almost double what you're, and then on top of that, so that because it's employing local workers, it's giving them jobs, it's putting food on the table for people like yourself that are business. And then if you want, if that doesn't pull at your heartstrings enough, and that seems too businessy, when you look at the amount of money that local business owners give to local charitable causes, it's about a 10-to-1 basis. So in the past year, where we've seen nonprofits just dry up because where the money's not coming to, the people that are at those fundraisers that I see just time in, time out, those are the local business owners. Those are the ones that are writing big checks to help the food bank, to help the crisis center, to help Salvation Army, to help where the needs are. But even beyond just writing the check, they're also the ones that if you go down to the food bank and you see some of the volunteers, it's those local people doing so. So yeah, my big plug is spend that money local. It does so much better. You're gonna have to spend it anyways. So keep it here local. So,
Great.
but definitely thanks for having me on
for
and letting me
yeah.
probably talk a little too much on something.
No.
That's
I'm
usually
going
just
to get
that's a
passionate.
good thing on a podcast
Right.
to talk too much. Like it's not a good thing if you are very laconic and kind of like nod as opposed to say. Like that can be really trouble. But yeah, we'll take her out here and
Thank you so
yeah,
much.
thanks for coming on the show.
Awesome.
Absolutely, thank you.